I wanted to make this video based on some recent thoughts that I had, a realization that I had today, of all times. It's in the moment, but the realization is, as a man, you must get jacked. You must become muscular. You must be dimorphic. If you want to date a feminine woman with a nice round ass and nice voluptuous curves and a feminine face, you basically need to have a dimorphic counterpart that matches her femininity. And that basically means you need to get jacked. And there is a caveat to this, which I'll mention in a second. But I think that there's kind of a psyop, which I fell victim to, which is there has been a movement to delegitimize masculine activities such as weightlifting, namely, and becoming a masculine, dominantly framed man, in place of, women don't care about body that much. They care about your personality or money, or your face card is all that matters, or your sense of humor or your charisma, all these different things. And while that may be true and applicable to a small minority of people, and this is what the caveat comes in, and you'll know if you're this person, if you have a personality that is magnetic and you're just naturally very sociable, and you're very funny, you're very you're comical, you're a jester, you're just always in a good mood or whatever it is. Yeah, that's the caveat. Dare I say, these people are, I don't want to say they're not men, but they're not. Come on, they're not a man in terms of like the kingly, stoic, cold, who has to deal with hardship and endure and hold frame and be a rock. They're not a man in that sense. So, for most men do not have those characteristics. Most men are not all of those funny court jester, hunky-dory, who can, use his personality and vibes. Most men, dare I say, are kind of awkward, somewhat socially awkward, kind of a little bit clumsy, you get what I'm, not social butterflies. That's just the, don't have the gift of the gab necessarily. We're more logical. That is just generally how most men are. And if you fall into that category, you'll know if you do, you basically have to get jacked. So yeah. And a good representation of this in recent times has been, which I just saw recently, was the one of the clavicular, and I think his name is Togi. I just saw something on my YouTube feed. It came up, and what was it? It was just them together, like them kind of interacting. But you can just tell, like, the way of the man, and like this whole looks maxing thing goes along with it, because looks maxing is, generally speaking, it's not focused on gym selling, working out, all these types of things. It's focused on plastic surgeries, facial aesthetics, I don't know, hair, mainly, the more cosmetic, honestly, feminine things. So yeah, it was very interesting to actually see the clavicular, who is the ultimate representation of that, who gets his social value from his looks, just from his face card, and then he mogs people, the way that he looks at them, and creates, uses angles to create dominance based on, that's where I guess what mogging is. Yeah, you can go that route, which is honestly the feminine route. That's what women do. Or you can do, look at some good examples are Togi. Another is Steve will do it even. They're not pretty boys. They're actually just men. Or Bradley Martin. We're not talking about pretty boys here. They don't wear makeup. They don't do cosmetic surgeries and all that type of stuff, all that bullshit. Because that's for girls. And instead they focus on what men do, which is having a dimorphic physique and all those types of things. So yeah, lo and behold, I don't know how it possibly I got psyoped into thinking, it doesn't really matter how muscular you are, just, I guess, don't be fat, and just, you'll be okay. But the other thing I wanted to mention, this one is important, is that when you don't know how to behave around a woman, you don't know how to behave around her, your actions are not natural, a lot of that boils down to your hormonal profile. How you handle stress is literally dictated by your hormonal profile and your metabolism consequently, or in lockstep. So if you don't know how to behave around women, if you become muscular, become jacked, become lean, as you do that, your hormones change. You have high testosterone, high DHT, low estrogen, and the way that you process stress, basically external stress, changes, and the way that you handle situation changes, and it comes naturally. It's amazing. It just comes naturally. You don't need to all this game, all this theory. You have confused men. How do I act? What do I say? What do I do? The reason that they're confused is because their bodies are not men. They're not men. They are essentially androgynous, on a sliding scale from male to female. They're somewhere in the middle. They're not, as you become jacked, low body fat, that is your male hormones optimized, and you become a true male. You become literally that much more dimorphic, and you are able to process and handle all these situations naturally and with ease. So I think that has a lot to do with it. There's no amount of, if you're a soy boy, if you're overweight and have a lot of estrogen, no amount of theory or game is gonna, you're still gonna struggle with that, because hormonally, your neurosteroid production is going to be messed up. You're not going to be producing enough GABA, all these different male dominant neurotransmitters. You probably knew this, but males, due to our testosterone, we produce way more GABA. We have way more GABA than women. We have way more spatial awareness. There's differences in our brain based on our hormonal profiles. There's one more thing. Which I wanted to mention, which is another thing. And this did hold me up, and it has some validity to it, but I'll get to it in a second. Which is that a lot of people, young men, including myself, they don't just see themselves really. If you have a baby face, which a lot of guys do these days. I'm 31. A lot of men these days have younger looking faces, and there's a lot of theories. I don't actually know the reason why. I can't even say. Perhaps hypothyroidism is a contributor to that, but you maybe sometimes might feel uncomfortable being jacked or being muscular because you think, like it doesn't look right on my frame, like it looks weird, like I have this baby face, but then I have all these big muscles, like that's gonna look weird. I actually think that there's some validity to that. If you look at really young, like if you have young bodybuilders and stuff like that, it looks weird, like you need to be a man. However, I will say that it takes quite a long time to develop the muscles and develop the frame, and give yourself that base. If you're holding out because I don't want to start working out too hard until I get older, so it looks just better with the frame overall. I don't think that's a good idea necessarily. I think because it takes such a long time to build up the muscle over time, that give yourself the head start. Just keep at it, do it, build yourself up, give yourself that frame, and as you get into your years, and as you grow into your face, and as you become more masculine, as you just get a little bit older, then you will be able to, more readily transition into that muscular man and become a real man, rather than, if you don't have any muscle and you just try to start at age 30 or 28, good luck. So I think I'm gonna stop here, but in short, if you want to capture high value women, and if you want to get women, and you're not getting women, you need to get lean and muscular. And there's a lot of info on that. That's another whole nother thing. It's but you can definitely do it incorrectly. You can be fat and inflamed and muscular. It's not going to look good. You need to be lean and muscular to get your proper hormonal profile. That's it.